The results are in for the 2015 Practical Farm Research or PFR trials at Beck's Hybrids. This was the third year for PFR testing at their London, Ohio facility, and planting took place shortly after tiling was complete. Alex Johnson is Beck's team sales agronomist for Ohio.
Planting date on corn and soybeans is something we test every year, and when we look at the average numbers, 2015 was no exception. Planting early gave us more yield. Now we know that on corn, but we see the same thing with soybeans. Planting in April was better yielding than planting in May. So we talk a lot about planting early, and when you plant early, your seed treatment is very important. And so we saw an advantage to having a good seed treatment on your seed to protect those plants early on. The neat thing about that is our first planting date on, I believe, April 18th, those seeds experienced freezing temperatures at the 2-inch soil depth. As farmers that were normally worried about that when we plant early, those planting dates still yielded higher even though they had those freezing conditions.
Some of the most important testing at the PFR trials in London focused on nitrogen.
As farmers, we spend on average $100 per acre or more each year on nitrogen. So we're testing some of the new equipment out there like 360 Y drops, high clearance spreaders with urea, and we're testing some of the different ways of putting nitrogen on. This year's results, with all the rain, there was some nitrogen loss early. So any of those practices that got the bulk of your nitrogen on later, those were the ones that paid the best. Also, we do nitrogen rate studies. So the more nitrogen we put on generally was better than less nitrogen because of the nitrogen loss this year. Other things we test are unconventional. They may cost you little or nothing, but it's new things that are not common practices. An example of that was we put sugar in the furrow on corn seed this year. It gave us a 10 bushel yield bump by doing that. Now that's 1 year data. We'll continue to test that, but we're testing things like that that are new and unconventional. The other thing that we tested that was new this year, costs you nothing as a farmer. Instead of side dressing corn in the middle of the row, we moved our quarter over and we were only 7.5 inches from the plant, and that's where we placed our side dress nitrogen. That gave us a yield increase. So we're looking at some of these things that cost little or nothing, but may be advantageous to our customers.
Fungicide timing was tested as well.
I classified the plot here at London as being low disease pressure. I live more towards the western side of the state, and we had higher disease pressure there and in other parts of Ohio. When we looked at the results though, fungicide still paid here at London even though the disease pressure was not very high. We tested different timings, V5 and VT. The VT timings gave us that return on investment. The V5 applications, there was no disease at that time. We didn't get the return on investment. So looking at the disease pressure, that's something we all need to do as farmers to help make that decision. But even with lower commodity prices, which we did factor in 2016, we'll still have to look at those fungicide decisions and see if they're economic or not.
There's a link along with this video's description for you to use to find PFR results in your area. For the Ohio AgNet, I'm Ty Higgins.